Here, you're ready for your dose of reality. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Quack podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. From what I've been told, this is going to be the end of 1995 for reviews for a while. And at least we're going out okay. It's not great, but it is definitely not bad. As Jordan Drake would say, this is definitely the best pay-per-view of 1995. Here it is right here, Starcade 95, December 27, 1995, a red letter day. There's some decent wrestling in 1995.
Yeah, there's not a lot of things you can say about 1995 that were good, but this one here was definitely, a great pay-per-view, I thought. I loved it because this was WCW versus New Japan.
Yes, Eric Bischoff officially took over in October of 1995 as the executive vice president and head of talent relations and several other titles that WCW never could officially tell us what they all were. So between October and December, he had to suffer through the bad November 95 pay-per-view, which we destroyed at length.
Just a little bit.
But this is the first time you could feel Eric Bischoff's fingerprints. He had a deal with Sonny Ono. They were great friends. And he brought in the talent of the Puroresu of New Japan, which at this time in 95, All Japan was not quite as strong as New Japan. So New Japan was tapped, mostly because Eric Bischoff knew Sonny Ono. And it wasn't bad, as he said. It was a good showing for the most part.
Yeah, well, let's break it down here because on commentary, we had Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, and Dusty Rhodes.
I will get into Dusty Rhodes in a minute. You were about to say something.
I believe this took place in Tennessee, if I'm not correct.
Nashville.
Nashville, correct.
94 and 95 both took place in Nashville. And I'll get into Dusty Rhodes in a minute. I don't have a can of air freshener. We haven't unpacked it in the new office yet. But Dusty Rhodes is getting sprayed, just for all sense and purposes.
Yeah, and on interviews, we had Mean Gene Okerlund.
Goofy as hell. It's obvious WCW did not treat this guy well. The less we say about that guy, the better.
Yes, ring announcing, you had Michael Buffer and David Penzer.
They're not bad. At this time, Michael Buffer still appreciated the paycheck, still had a decent reputation in the wrestling world. And Dave Penzer, we've talked about, his voice wasn't the best, but he was so energetic and cared so much about his performance. Nothing wrong we can say.
Yeah, and referees, we had Randy Anderson, Randy Eller, and Nick Patrick.
Yeah, we gotta love Randy Eller, a.k.a. the Mullet.
Yes.
This guy is not a great referee. He has such a slow cadence. He actually hurts the flow and importance of the show. And to give you an idea, I tried to look up a little bit on Randy Eller. Randy Eller is one of 3 WCW referees not to have a Wikipedia page.
It does happen. I want to mention something before we get into the first match here because Bobby Heenan, during this whole broadcast, was Team New Japan. And I love that. I thought it was great heel character right there.
As usual, Jesse Ventura, Bobby Heenan, you couldn't get a better heel commentary guy. Yes, Jerry Lawler is better at giving the words than Bobby Heenan was, but Jerry Lawler's not as good at building the heel storyline. So Bobby Heenan being New Japan, it only made sense.
Yes. And the first matchup that we have here is Jushin Thunder Liger with Sonny Ono. All these matches were with Sonny Ono here. Taking on Chris Benoit.
Yeah, they put this over the start of the show that New Japan was taking on WCW for the Wrestlers Cup, this big, huge, Samovar-sized cup. Was a best-of-7 contest. And Jushin Liger and Chris Benoit had worked each other many times, mostly when he was the Wild Pegasus or Pegasus Kid. And, well, the finish was a little bit sloppy. These two guys could tell a story. The story was the American strong style against the Japanese light heavyweight Puroresu, which was stolen by Americans and called the Cruiserweight Division. It started in Japan, folks. If you didn't know that, learn your history on wrestling if you want to be a wrestler. Great match. Opening, like you said, it set the table. 3 stars. Very strong performance. Great job.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the better matches on the card. This was one of my favorites. Like I always tell people, you can watch a Benoit match and learn something every time. This was great storytelling, great work, and a great opener. Yeah, 3 stars.
And they even kept the twists of the feud going on with Kevin Sullivan and Chris Benoit. This was kind of the beginning parts of that led to the big, long feud that became all the bad stuff that happened later on. We're not going to get into. But they even did a great job of keeping continuity in the story going with him being a new horseman and he feuding with the Dungeon of Doom. It was great.
Yeah, that was definitely an awesome match. If you haven't seen this show, this is probably the best one I can tell you to watch in 95. That's everything in 95.
All right, so the next one I've been told to take over because I can pronounce the Japanese names. All he knew how to say was Jushin Liger because he's well known in the United States.
That's right.
So the next one is Koji Kanemoto taking on Alex Wright, Das Wunder Kid.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Wonder Kid didn't look bad here. For the first time probably ever I've seen him. Most of the time his matches was all about dancing, had to do the dancing, and then he would do a few moves and get his ass kicked. And at least this one, it looked decent. Koji Kanemoto kept that very well. Kept that match going.
Koji Kanemoto, I was a little bit familiar with him from New Japan. He mostly was more IWGP, doing a lot of the bigger tournaments and stuff like that. Not so much the companies and the league. He tried to stay out of that. In fact, he and one other guy who's on the show here opened 0-1 a few years later after this because they wanted to get away from all of the wrestling politics that exists in Puroresu. Alex Wright was not the right opponent for this guy. They were okay together. Alex Wright really was too flippy-flop for this guy who was more a ground-and-pound guy. It didn't quite work very well. They had the double drop kick, the double drop miss, where they tried to drop kick off the top rope and both of them missed each other. At least they both sold it. This match was too long, but it was decent. Koji Kanemoto won this one. I gave it 2.25 stars.
Yeah. I went about 2.5. I felt like it was a good setting of the table to help towards bigger things.
Right, and right now, New Japan is up 2-0.
Oh, yeah, good God. Did they hype that up after this match?
Yep.
You saw Sonny Ono just getting so excited backstage, you would have thought he went to Disney.
Yeah, and this is where Mean Gene went off the rails, pushing the $99 or $1.49 a minute hotline. If he didn't say it 6 times in a 30-second promo, he probably thought he was going to get fired.
Oh, my God.
So moving on to the next one, here's probably one of the most famous names for Americans who don't watch a lot of Puroresu, Masahiro Chono taking on Lex Luger.
Yeah, big match there. I definitely enjoyed it. I mean, it was a good match there. Chono, well known throughout Japan, was a member of the NWO later on, taking on Lex Luger. I thought it was funny just seeing him with Jimmy Hart and recording to speculate the storyline about him and Sting. Was the friendship intact or was it going to break up? Yeah. I went 2.5.
Masa Chono has some other famous history behind him. He was trained by Lou Thez. He was also Lou Thesz's very last match in wrestling to make Lou Thez the first person to wrestle in 7 different decades. It's been done by a few others. Lou Thez was the first. So Masa Chono, yes, he joined the NWO when they used to call him Masa My Hero Chono.
Yes.
A very decorated and respected worker. He did a lot of things with the NWA, both in Japan and across the United States, working in the NWA. He actually was a booker for a little while in the Northeast for the international superstars. Luger didn't look bad. He started screaming ow at the end, but at this time he didn't do a lot of that. This match was actually decent, but here's where my imaginary spray comes in for Dusty Rhodes.
Nah, baby.
Dusty Rhodes. Tony Schiavone, I'm actually giving credit here. You know I bashed Tony Schiavone at length here.
Not Glass Joe.
Tony Schiavone was calling things properly. The German suplex, the European uppercut. And Dusty Rhodes was making fun of him for saying, "What is that? Why did you call that a German suplex, Daddy?" Dusty Rhodes, of all people.
And then Bobby joined in on him.
Bobby did that because Bobby and Tony, that was a natural feud. But no, then Dusty Rhodes was turned around talking about Bobby Heenan doing that as well. So I don't know what Dusty Rhodes' problem was with calling moves that had names of other countries in it. But stop that!
He gonna hit the Iranian elbow, baby.
The crowd was very hot for Luger, in spite of the fact that, or actually because of they couldn't hear Dusty Rhodes talk. I gave it 2.5.
Yeah, I went 2.5 on this too. God. Yeah, you know, baby. That's what we got to do out here. You know, we hit that behind the elbow.
Yeah. Tony Schiavone does something right, and Dusty Rhodes has to punk him out for it.
Of course he does.
It's 1995, folks.
Was he Booker at this point?
No, he was not.
Who was Booker?
It was the end of the committee, and it was starting to move into Eric Bischoff was starting to put together the new committee. Kevin Sullivan was the first one coming in, but there was also Bob Caudle was part of that, and Greg Valentine was part of that, and a couple others. I'm drawing the blank on the names. I wasn't expecting that question.
I got him good there, didn't I? But let's move on to the next match.
The next match here, oh, by the way, that now makes 2-1, New Japan over WCW. The next match here, Johnny B. Bad with the Diamond Doll Kimberly against Masa Saito. He's another well-known name here, but go ahead.
Yeah, Masa Saito, oh my God. Yeah, that guy is just definitely incredible. I didn't like this match completely. I felt like it was out of sorts. It did not belong in this whole show here.
Yeah.
But, you know, they put it on here. I mean, I'll go 2.25 on it. I wasn't impressed. I mean, Kimberly out there, she looked good, but everything else was kind of a disarray.
Yeah, Masa Saito, for the casual fan, would be the most well-known. He's a former AWA World Champion. He also invented 2 moves, that one of them is still used today, called the Saito Suplex. It's now called a Salto Suplex, or when side gut wrench suplex, but it's actually called the Saito Suplex because he's the one that invented it. He is definitely a decorated, well-respected. He was kind of well past his prime by this point. He retired from wrestling in 1997. Sadly, he passed away from Parkinson's in 2018.
Yes.
But he was 76 years old. He had a great life. He had a great career. Johnny B. Bad, his style, you had to work around his style. And Masa Saito at this point was like, kid, do what I tell you. And Johnny B. Bad didn't work that way. So I also went 2.25. They didn't match their chemistry, and the stupid top rope DQ disqualifier finish thing. I'm glad that's gone away. I'm a purist. In most cases, we're both pretty purists. We watch a lot of the older stuff, but I'm glad that one went away.
Yeah, and moving along here, I'm going to actually do this one here because this is Otani taking on Eddie Guerrero, and this is my QUACK attack. Because this match here, if you need to study how to work, it was either this match or Benoit, but this one I felt was just a hair better. This was definitely incredible work. A young Eddie Guerrero out here working Otani. You learned how to do catch-as-catch-can with this, how to tell a story, how to get the fans excited, getting them sitting on the edge of their seats. This actually gets for me 3 3/4 stars. I thought this was match of the night.
Very nice. And
QUACK attack.
Shinjiro Otani, the only name from New Japan I was not familiar with when this show first aired, and I had to research him because I wasn't familiar with his stuff. And Eddie Guerrero, for those of you that always thought Eddie Guerrero talked like Latino heat, this is the time that proves to you that was a fake voice.
Yes.
Most wrestlers use fake voices. Otani was the other member, along with Koji Kanemoto, who formed 0-1, which is more of a cruiserweight Michinoku Pro style of Puroresu wrestling. And both Kanemoto and Otani are still active today at 55 and 53 years old. And with Eddie Guerrero, this was solid storytelling, a solid match. I didn't catch any technical flaws in here. The timing was right. The pacing was right. The crowd reactions were right. I only went 3.5, but solid, strong match of the night. Excellent example of how it goes. And Otani got the win, so we're up to 3-2. New Japan over WCW.
Definitely. And it was a good match. I'll give it that. That was definitely one of my favorites to watch on here.
Very nice. So the next one here, Hiroyushi Tenzan, or just as they called him, Tenzan, taking on world champion Macho Man Randy Savage in a non-title match.
Which didn't make sense to me. Okay, you're going to have Randy Savage defend his title later on. Why are you having him in this cup?
Yeah, I have to agree. They were playing injury. I don't know if I don't remember back if the injury was legit or was kayfabe. I believe it was kayfabe, the way he was moving around. I don't think it was real. But the problem with this match, with Randy Savage in all of 1995, there was still one more match after this. The world champion didn't even get the top billing in the tournament. That kind of gives you where Randy Savage's skill set was at this time. And Hiroyushi Tenzan was also a member of the NWO that came around. When you always saw the guy in the mask with the horns, that's Tenzan. They always called him the Buffalo. He's 5'10", 255 pounds, strong as can be. This match was okay. Their styles didn't mesh really well. The crowd was very flat on this one. They really didn't get into this one at all. And I'll tell you how bad this match kind of was. I did go 2 1/4, but how bad this match was. Bobby Heenan started entertaining himself by throwing papers all over the place and crawling around on the floor. Bobby Heenan lost interest in this match and had to entertain himself.
But now I know why this was booked. Reasons.
Okay, yes. Welcome back, Mad Mountain Rock.
We needed you here, yes, for this show, just for that occasion. But yeah, we had the big match here, the one that decided all, 3-3.
Yes, Kensuke Sasaki, the U.S. champion Kensuke Sasaki, taking on Sting, who he defeated in Japan to win that U.S. title.
Yeah, and that was a good story right there. You know, having that rematch. You had Sting being the flag bearer of WCW. You wanted him to go last. Kensuke Sasaki, definitely a great one to have last to represent New Japan.
Yes, and this was also a non-title match as well. Kensuke Sasaki is probably, with the exception of Antonio Inoki, one of the biggest names in Puroresu. There's only 4 people who have held the IWGP, the New Japan, and the Global Honored Champion, the one that became Noah. There's only 4 of them. Kensuke Sasaki is one of them. So he is a big name, big deal. He's a former NWA World Champion. He's a big name in and around Puroresu and in the United States for those of you who watch more than WWE.
Yes.
And this match was actually really good. They put over that, and this is something that annoyed me that WCW did. Kensuke Sasaki put on the Western Sukahara, which you guys know as the Scorpion Deathlock. Kensuke Sasaki invented that move, not Sting, but they were saying the inventor of the Scorpion Deathlock, and no, it wasn't. It was Kensuke Sasaki. But the crowd was very hot. This match had good pacing, good timing. It wasn't as good as Eddie Guerrero and Otani, but it was right up there. I went 3 stars on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I went right about 2 3/4. I could go to 3 with it. I mean, it had a lot of great things in this match. You had Sting finishing him off with the Scorpion Deathlock, Sharpshooter, whatever you want to call it. They won it 4-3, and a great celebration at the end of that match.
It was a great celebration, but I want to go away from the celebration because you knew WCW is going to win. For those of you who want to catch up a little bit on Shinsuke Sasaki, look up some of his matches against Kenta Kobashi, Orange Crush. You want to see hard-hitting wrestling from All Japan, watch some of those matches and you will have a new respect for the All Japan wrestlers and pure wrestling in general. It's not Shinsuke Nakamura's strong style, it's the real strong style.
And if you really just want a good laugh, go watch Bobby the Brain Heenan sitting there on commentary trying to get out of his chair after they lost. That was priceless.
So I said he was entertaining himself.
He sure was. But now we're going to get ready to move on to the triple threat match. Yes. Sting, Lex Luger, and Ric Flair. And this match here gets my 2 Stinger salute. And there's a reason why that is. And it's not because the match didn't look great with Sting and Luger in there. They worked okay with each other. It was the dumb-ass finish. You're going to have a double count-out to decide Flair gets to move on. Seriously, why? And they called it a triangle match. Triangle match generally means that, okay, one person's eliminated, the other person's eliminated, the other person's the winner. No, they decided to just count both men out. This was the dumbest finish in all of history. This is like having a championship match and it go to a draw and then they vacate the title. It was stupid.
Yeah, this version of the triangle match, as he said, normally a triangle is an elimination style triple threat match. No, this is 2 guys are in the ring, 1 guy's waiting to get tagged in. That's why they had the double countout. Yes, it was stupid. And Luger and Sting had decent chemistry together. Luger and Flair equals Flair wrestling a broomstick. Because there was one time he went up to Luger, tapped him on the shoulder and said, "I'm coming with the shoulder block." And Luger was so out of place, Ric Flair bumped himself. So it was Ric Flair taking on a broomstick, a.k.a. Lex Luger. And it was still a better match than Sting and Luger.
Oh,
what a shock.
You know you love Lex Luger. I'll be your hero.
Yeah, this match was not great. I understand why they went with that triple threat ending, or the double countout ending, because what happened next is they set up Sting and Luger to feud with each other to figure out who's going to take on Ric Flair, because Luger stopped Sting from getting back in the ring. So, while the ending was stupid, at least in WCW's mindset with Eric Bischoff still trying to plunger the toilet and get rid of all the crap from Jim Herd and all the other morons they brought in, we got that finish.
God. Yes, we did.
But I wasn't as hard on it as you did. At least the talent in there tried really hard with the stupid concept, so I went 2.5.
I went 2.5 with it too, because I feel like that whole finish just jacked up everything. It did not belong. But now we're going to move on to the main event. And I finally get to say that with a little bit of praise.
Yep. Challenger Ric Flair taking on world champion Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yes. And that was a very solid match. I'll give it that. It was a good main event. It wasn't the best, but it helped with the ending, the finish of that, really setting up how the Horsemen were coming together.
Yeah, because the Horsemen were there. You got to see, for a very short period of time, Brian Pillman Horseman, which was great.
Yes.
And Benoit was the newest member because he had actually won it by beating Kevin Sullivan. Mm-hmm. So the match was good. It took too long to get that all to happen, though.
Yes.
That I had a problem with. The Jimmy Hart trying to come in the ring, which, by the way, this is the only match that Randy Anderson refereed on the pay-per-view. There was 3 dark matches, and he refereed 2 of those.
Yes.
But it took too long of Jimmy Hart coming in and throwing the microphone in, and then Flair gets hit with the microphone, and Jimmy Hart is still trying to get in the ring. And here comes the Horseman, and here comes this, and here comes that. And it took like 4 minutes to set up this finish, which really was too long, even though it made sense in the grand scheme of things. It just was too dragged. It took too long to get there. But all in all, it was a good match. Savage and Flair, Savage and Flair, we know have good chemistry from their time in WWF together. You know that Randy Savage was okay with him messing around with Elizabeth as far as putting her in the Horseman. Diamond Dallas Page was okay with it because of showing off the DDP 1994 with Kimberly. So these guys had a lot of great chemistry. For being a womanizer, Ric Flair was trusted by a lot of people. I went 3 1/4. Ric Flair became a 12-time world champion on this match, and it was a good match, a good way to end 1995 on a high note.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3 stars even on this. It wasn't bad. It was a good deal. It helped with the Horsemen's growth at that point throughout the years. But there's one match we did not talk about that is not aired, and that is the one-man gang taking on Kensuke Sasaki for the U.S. title. Why are we bringing that up, sir?
Specifically, we are bringing it up because they filmed this afterwards because Kensuke Sasaki wanted to lose the title in 6 weeks after he went back to Japan. That wouldn't have been able to because it was going to air 3 weeks later. So they had the one-man gang beat him and then take the title and come back into the United States with it. And it ended up airing sometime in like May or June of 96.
Yes, it did. It is such a cluster. That was why they had to plunge the rest of the crap out of the toilet.
Yeah, they did. And we didn't talk about the other 2 garbage monstrosities, the American Males taking on the Blue Bloods, which was on the dark match, and Diamond Dallas Page taking on, I don't care who it was, they were a garbage talent. So I didn't care about that one either. But those were the 3 dark matches that don't air because WWE Network, Peacock Network, all those other people went, we don't need that crap.
Pretty much Kevin Dunn. He came out there. Nobody's going to recognize him.
Exactly.
But that's the end of our show here tonight. But guess what?
The end of 1995.
Now I have good news.
You promise. You swear to God. We're not doing another 19... I'm not going to turn around. There's going to be something 1995.
No, this is good news. There's not going to be anything 1995. But you know what we're getting...
That's semantics.
Do you know that what we're getting ready to go into now?
No.
We're getting ready because we're in the summer, right? We're getting ready to look at this one here.
Oh, no.
Just move. Just move.
Oh, man. I had to take a picture of it because I wasn't sure if that's really what I just saw.
Oh, well, you definitely see it. I'm Dr. Quack.
And I'm going to be here all day because Mr. Mayhem's not coming back.
We'll see you next time.